Hi guys! I am moving on to lesson 6-3. You should have out your SAB, you should have out your homework and remembering journal, and a sharpened pencil. You might want to have scratch paper, but this lesson has a lot of room, so you should totally be fine in that regard. So today's work is all about word problems, but kind of the reverse. So one way to know if you're totally understanding a concept is by being able to ask a question about it. So that's kind of the work that we're going to do today, but I'm going to make a suggestion to you. I'm going to go over question 1 with you, and then I'm also going to go over question 4 with you. But I think that after you watch question 1, you should pause the video and you should try questions 2 and 3 on your own. And then also when we get to question number 4, and I explain to you how that question goes, after that one, I think again you should pause the video and try out questions 5 and 6. I'll give you some guidance because sometimes it's hard to come up with word problems on your own, but I would really love for you to challenge yourself today to see if you can figure those out, all right? And as always, if these are seeming really hard, you can always log into our Zoom calls for our office hours and we can chat about them, but keep in mind that this one is giving you the answer. They just want you to try and write a word problem to match it, all right? So we're going to start with 6-3. No idea what the page number is, but you will figure that out. And I'll read to you the directions here. It says, write a word problem for the equation, draw a model to show the product. As always, you know I'm not feeling like you need to always draw the model, only if you feel like it will help you solve the problem. So this first one is simply showing us 3/4 times 2 equals 6/4. So this is a fractions problem. And what I basically see is that I'm finding two groups of these fractions. I like to think a lot about baking or cooking when I'm doing fractions because that's pretty common. For instance, in my cookie recipe, I use 3/4 cup of sugar. And so I'm going to just pretend like I am doubling this recipe. So if you were to write a word problem, you could say something like, did not want to open PowerPoint, just joking. You could say that you wanted to do something like, my cookie recipe calls for 3/4 of a cup of sugar. Think about how you could finish that. I've used 3/4, now I need to do the times 2. So I'm going to say I need, because we're in quarantine, I need to double this recipe. And then basically that will just tell you your answer. How many cups of sugar will I need in all? So that pretty much covers it. 3/4 times 2 equals 6/4. I didn't give you the answer. Instead, I set it up for you, except for I forgot. I set it up for you with a question of what it is you need to solve. My cookie recipe calls for 3/4 cup of sugar. I need to double this recipe. How many cups of sugar will I need in all? So I'm going to give you a hint for number 2 and number 3 if you need some guidance about what to write about as far as what your word problems could be. I would say for number 2, hold on, I wrote myself some hints. I already wrote mine, and I'm going to show them to you in just a second. But for number 2, I did a fraction word problem about kids calling into a Zoom call and what they were wearing. So that could be something you try out a word problem around. And then for number 3, I did a problem about mowing lawns for a certain number of hours. So if you would be so kind, I would love for you to pause and actually try questions 2 and 3. If you're feeling super uncomfortable and you want to just move on with me, that would be fine, but now would be the time to pause. These are the questions that you solved, hopefully on your own, with your own word problems, but I am not going to sit and make you listen in this video to me write and be silent as I write the answers. So I went ahead and wrote them, and I just kind of want to walk you through what I did. So this first problem was 5/6 times 1/3 equals 5/18. So I thought about this as our class. So I said 5/6 of the class logged into Zoom today. And then I thought about what they could be wearing. So I said, of those, 1/3 were wearing pajamas. So what fractions of students were wearing PJs? So that really is your 5/6 of students, and it's 1/3 of them. So you're finding 1/3 of those 5/6. And the good news about multiplying fractions is it's literally just 5 times 1 and then 6 times 3. So that gives you your first answer. On this number 3, I went for, my dog is very talented and can totally mow lawns. So then I thought about, okay, what's a certain amount of money that a kid could earn, or a dog in this case, and then a job that they would do for like 3.5 hours. So that seemed easier to me. So it says Elliot earns $6 an hour mowing lawns. He mowed for 3.5 hours, and how much money does Elliot earn? So that's how you come up with those $21. He's got $6 an hour. He worked for 3.5, and altogether, if you were to multiply that out, that would get you your $21. All right, so let's look at number 4. This one is same deal, but this time it is a division word problem. In my opinion, division word problems seem harder to write a word problem for, but I actually think that it's not too bad. I promise it's not too bad. So we're going to do the same as before. I'm going to do number 4 with you real quick, and then I'm going to ask you to pause so you can try 5 and 6 on your own before I show you my examples. So number 4, it says write a word problem for the equation, draw a model. Again, modeling only if you need to, although this one's not too bad to show you a model. So what I did on this one is I thought about how hot it was on Friday of last week, and so I said I had 1/4 of a pitcher of lemonade, and then Mr. Glassy and I split the rest of the pitcher. And really what you're trying to find out here is then how much lemonade did we each drink? Now, the hardest part of these ones is you have to consider you're talking about your entire pitcher of lemonade before you even started, even though it only had 1/4 of your pitcher left over. So I'm going to draw this really fancy pitcher called a rectangle, and then I'm going to show you first if you had just 1/4. No, that's not. I'm not going to do that. That's too cheap. Let's do, we had 1/4 of a jar, or excuse me, a pitcher of lemonade. So there's my lemonade there. And then I said in my word problem that Mr. Glassy and I split it in half. So that would mean then that I could split this in half. So how much of my original fraction was left over? Then that means that we each drank 1/8 of that original pitcher of lemonade. So that's your 1/4. You're dividing it by 2 to equal 1/8. But we remember that we can't just simply divide fractions. Instead, you think about it as the fact that there were 2 groups of lemonade that you were drinking. So that's really like doing 1/4 times splitting them in half, which would give you your 1/8 of lemonade. All right? So these are the 2 problems that you are going to solve next. If you want hints about the kind of problems that you can solve, on this one I thought about cookies and how I could make them last many days. So that might help you write one for this one. And then for number 6, what I thought about instead is was like how much money I got per hour. So if I earned, well, I'm going to let you figure that out. Geez, I almost gave you the answer, just kind of like class. So on this one, I want you to think per hour rather than over 3 hours. Okay, so those are your 2 hints if you want it. Otherwise, it's totally fine to write your own word problems, but I'd like you to pause for a second and try to figure those out. So if you didn't cheat, just joking, these are the ones that I came up with. So I thought about, on number 5, having cookies. So it says I have 3 jumbo-sized cookies, and I decide to eat half a cookie each day. So that means these are my 3 jumbo-sized cookies. I decide to eat half a day, and then it says how many days will those 3 cookies last me. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So those would be your 6 days of cookies. And then on number 6, I love money, and it says $16.50 divided by 3 equals $5.50. So then I thought about what's a scenario where I would be splitting up the money 3 ways. You could have done something like you earned $16.50 with your friends, and then you had to split it up, but I went with just how much I earned per hour. So this problem says Liz earned $16.50 for babysitting for 3 hours, and then how much did she earn? Well, I wrote that wrong. How much did she earn per hour? And in order to figure that out, you would just do your $16.50 divided by 3. Oh, Paula Abdul, how I have missed you. Make sure that decimal point goes straight up. Now tell me, do you really want to love me forever? Oh. And then you get to just divide by like usual. And you didn't really have to divide this one, but I just kind of want to show you because it's been a while. 3 goes into 16 5 times. 3 again goes into 15 5 times. And then 3 goes into 0 times. So that's how you get your 550. All right, let's talk about how you can show your understanding today. So on this one, option 1's actually out because you already have done those. So in order to show some more understanding, excuse me, I'm tongue-tied, you can go move on to the 6-3 homework pages. As usual, I just don't know if the pages numbers are right. I think my answer key in my teacher manual is wrong. So I think it's pages 125 to 126, but no matter what, make sure you're doing lesson 6-3's homework. Or you can go check out my weekly plan. In my weekly plan that I sent out to you, I may have told you a few a few IXL lessons that would match today's lesson. So you could try that one out as well. The option is totally up to you. Okay? Log into our Zoom call if you need some help. Also, I will say, just on this one, writing word problems can be really tricky. So if you understand how to solve them, but maybe struggled a little bit with writing the word problems, I wouldn't fret or worry too much. It's okay to move on. All right? Thanks, guys.